be able to sometimes have that option to bring the child there. And yes, I'm sure that counsel is going to come up and state that grandma right now is with the sister and has traveled up to Tennessee. But it's not always that easy for her to do that. She's 79 years old. She does have very mild early stages of dementia. So it is easier for her to be in a more comfortable area, not be traveling and staying in places she doesn't know, like hotels, and instead staying in sister's home or dad's home when she's in Utah with him. But it's not easy for her to just travel on her own. So we are asking that be granted, Judge.
All right.
And also, Your Honor, we did file an amended motion to add that we would request that father be granted additional parenting time. You had stated at our last hearing, depending on how the summer parenting time went, and if we did come back on July 29th, that you would be willing to consider granting him additional parenting time due to the amount of days he has lost now from the TRO, plus the modification to the summer parenting plan.
All right, and that was just filed on July 23rd, and I've not had a chance to review that particular motion. Let me hear from Mr. Frakes, and then I'll probably take a break to review that motion before we start the hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the mother does object to the father taking the child to North Carolina during the 2-week parenting time. 1 week has already passed. He's exercising his 2nd week currently. This court issued an order ruled from the bench stating that one of the main issues for the minor child was that she did not want to be removed from her community for long periods of time. Therefore, Your Honor allowed the father 4 days in Utah with 1 travel day, 2 separate weeks in the state of Tennessee during the summer months. Less than 1 week after the court's ruling from the bench, the father filed this motion asking to be able to take the minor child out of the state of Tennessee. The child has submitted an affidavit, Your Honor, stating that she does not have a extremely close relationship with her grandmother. Further, that the last time she was visiting with her grandmother, her father left her there alone to provide care for the grandmother who has dementia. My client is trying to argue for the child's best interest and the child's wishes. This child is 16 years old. You've obviously met her before. She's a very intelligent child and is about to start school on August 8th. She doesn't want to have to travel to the state of North Carolina with the father if this court doesn't order her to. And Your Honor, there's no additional time for parenting time at this point. The father has his week until August the 4th, and then the child starts school August the 8th. At this point in time, there is no additional parenting time to award the father.
Well, let me take a recess to read that most recent motion, which I've not had a chance to see, and then we'll come back. And part of the reason she testified to was that she did not want to have to be gone from her home and her friends and her location and her activities for that length of time. So I made an order that modified the summer visitation to give him a 4-day period where the child would have to go to Utah to be with him. And I thought that was appropriate. And that the remaining 2 weeks that he was going to have, which meant he was reduced in time somewhat, but he was going to have 2 weeks, but he would come here to exercise those visitations with his daughter in the area that she lived. So that was my thinking. The summer visitation was separate and apart from the original ex parte order hearing in January. So that hearing in January resulted in simply a modification that the monthly visitation would occur in the county or in the area that she lived. And that the summer visitation was addressed within that May hearing, and that, as I've stated, resulted in 1 modified trip to Utah, and the remaining 2 weeks would be in the area where she lives. So unless there's some compelling reason to modify that, I don't see any reason, having clarified that, to rehear those issues. The only other change, the only other thing that I'm requested is to hear a request about his being able to take the child to North Carolina. So I will hear you on that.
Thank you, Judge.
And I've read through the pleading so that I fully understand what the issue is.
I think the issue, Judge, where we're at is that, like I said earlier before we took our break, my client wants the ability to take the minor child to see his family and continue to have a relationship with his family. And it's not always as easy for his family to travel, especially with his 79-year-old mother, to Tennessee. And he's not asking that every weekend visitation is going to be, they're going to North Carolina and driving the child there. But I think where we're at is that mother, like I said, is taking the minor child whenever she pleases to wherever she wants.
Let me apologize for interrupting you, but to make sure I'm understanding, are you asking to modify the order regarding his monthly visitation as well as the summer visitation?
Right now, so we're asking, I guess it's a little bit of two separate issues. So regarding the monthly weekend visitation, what we're asking for is that we understand it's still limited to the local access area as to where they're supposed to stay unless the child has extracurricular activities outside of that county or those local access areas. But we're asking for during those visitations is if there's a time that grandmother is in North Carolina with sister and they're having a family event, that Mr. Wells be allowed to go to at least the greater Charlotte area to go visit his mother with the minor child and see his sister as well. So that's one part of the motion that we're asking for. The other part of the motion is that we would like to see if there are ways to mend the time that Mr. Wells has lost to be able to add on some additional time in certain places so that he is able to have more time with the minor child. We're not saying go to Utah. We understand your reasoning behind all of that and where we are in that, but to be able to have a bit more time with her, he's lost 19 days.
And how would you suggest that that time be made up with a young lady who doesn't really want to go with her father at all?
Well, Judge, my client has come up with a couple different options. I'm more than happy to present them to the court if you'd like to see them.
Well, this is just opening statements, so we'll hear what he is proposing when he testifies.
But I mean, I think there are different options that we can address and we can discuss, whether it's adding on during where his weekend parenting time is maybe only a Friday to a Sunday, that he would be able to have an extra day with her on those days, that he would come in early to have an extra weekend with her then, or that he be able to add on to certain breaks, fall break or spring break, things of that aspect and that nature so that he can have more time with her.
Okay.
It's not an easy solution, Judge. I think that's where we're at. I know that you've also addressed that it's not an easy solution. She's older. She's 16 years old. She has testified to whatever she wants to testify to at this point, and then writes affidavits that are completely contradictory to the testimony she comes in before the court. But my client, you have seen videos with her and my client. They do not have, I believe, as awful as of a relationship as the minor child wants to point out. But whenever mother is involved is when the minor child suddenly changes her whole tune and her story, even in the regard of wanting to travel, saying she doesn't want to leave her community, but then goes to Kentucky with mom, and it's a 3-hour plus drive so that she can go see mom's family. And then writes an affidavit that states that she has no relationship with grandma, but then testified in court that she did all of these things with dad when they were in Utah because grandma's there and she wants to have special memories with grandma. And
well, the 16-year-old doesn't always understand the significance of being able to be around their grandparents because when you get to be my age, you know, then it becomes apparent that you wish you would have spent more time with your grandparents, but that may not be what this young lady feels later on. I don't know.
I mean, and I will tell you, Judge, that has crossed my mind, and that is a fear that I have, is that there's a lot of manipulation going on in this matter, and she's going to sit back one day and she's going to regret the fact that she wrote this affidavit stating she doesn't have a close bond with her grandma, when in reality she does. And then when her grandma's said and gone, what happened to that time that she could have had with her?
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
No, one more question.
Yes, sir.
So as far as your client taking his daughter to see his grandmother, her grandmother, to clarify that so that it's crystal clear, you're asking that he be allowed to take this child on any of the weekends that he has the child, or is it just during, of course, as I pointed out, the school starts for her within the next week, so, or 2 weeks at least, so it's going to be difficult for him to have an additional week of time with the child, but you're asking for him to do that. How often is he asking to, and we'll let him testify, but how often is he realistically wanting to go to his grandmother's and his mother's? How long a drive is that?
I actually have it, Judge, if you give me a second to look. It's exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes from her home in Johnson City to where his sister lives and the grandmother tends to go and stay.
All right.
And that honestly, Judge, 2 hours and 17 minutes, that can be a day trip if anything. Like that's really not a long drive in retrospect.
Child doesn't want to go. And this isn't necessarily about only the fact that the child doesn't want to be taken out of her community, because the child did go to the maternal grandmother's residence recently. Child has no issues with her relationship with her mother. It's the father's relationship with the child that's at issue here, Your Honor. The child shouldn't obviously be able to make all decisions, but the child appeared before Your Honor previously. Your Honor listened to the testimony of the child, took a recess, went into chambers, came back after contemplating the issue and stated that the child wouldn't have to be removed from her community when the father exercises his parenting time, at least during the summer months and the weekend months. Child has presented an affidavit, Your Honor, stating that she doesn't have that close of a bond with the grandmother. That's, I understand the court's position, and I realize that, Your Honor. She may regret that in the future, but that's child's position at this point in time. The mother's asking that the child's wishes be granted and that she not be forced to travel with the father at this point in time during the designated periods that the father's to come to the state of Tennessee.
All right. Mr. Rosen, you can put on your proof.
I'd like to call Mr. Wells, Judge.
Well, if you'll come right up, please. Ask you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Robert Allen Wells.
And are you the father of the minor child, Ella Wells?
Yes, I am.
And do you have a parenting plan with Miss Shelley Ann Wells that's sitting right there?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. So, Mr. Wells, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions regarding visitation. So, as the judge had just pointed out, we're talking about potentially altering or modifying your visitation with the
Mhm.
minor child so that
Mhm.
during your weekend parenting time, you may be able to go see your mother and her sister in North Carolina. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And can you just tell the court, please, how many times do you believe you would want to be making these trips with the minor child?
During my monthly parenting time, that's when school is in session. And so my daughter's she's very active in quiz bowl. She's active in speech and debate. She's active in robotics. And I try to schedule my parenting time away from those times. That way I could have more exclusive time with her, because if we go to speech and drama or whatever, she's going to be gone all the Saturday and maybe part of the Sunday doing things. So I try to break that time out. So when we do monthly parenting time, our number one thing is getting the father-daughter counseling taken care of. That's our number one importance. Number two is making sure that, the extracurriculars, whatever she's got, that she's going to be available for that. I only realistically see having maybe 1 or 2 monthly weekends, having the option of going to North Carolina in a year. That's it.
And do you intend to stay there overnight? What's your intention when you make those trips?
My intention is to, like, when I pick Ella up from after school on a Friday, is that we just make that quick 2-hour drive to outside of Charlotte and stay overnight Friday night, have the day there with my mother and my sister in North Carolina, and then early Sunday morning get up and leave from there, and then be able to do our handoff at 6 p.m. later Sunday.
And would you say, in your opinion, that the minor child has a relationship with grandma?
I think they actually she has a very warm relationship with her grandmother. I mean, when this past Christmas, when we were out in Utah, she voluntarily wanted to.
Hearsay statement is the child's statement.
I am recounting what I visibly saw.
It's his opinion, Judge, of the minor child's relationship. It's not what she said.
Well, restate your question and let him consider his answer, because I'm not sure it is hearsay.
So, in your opinion, Mr. Wells, how would you describe the minor child's relationship with grandma?
I think they have a very warm and playful relationship.
I
And
don't believe that was hearsay, other than that, at least in that form of the question. So any objection is overruled.
thank you, Judge. And has the minor child ever said to you that she would like to see grandma more?
Well, that would call for hearsay, would seem to me, but since I'm going to rule on hearsay for the child, are you going to object to that affidavit, which is clearly hearsay?
I mean, yes, Judge.
Okay, so it's, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Wells, have you ever seen this before?
Yeah, this is a Google map, from, Ella's mom's house to my sister's house in North Carolina.
And can you just tell me, from the minor child's house to, that is grandma's house or sister's house in North Carolina?
That is sister's house.
And this states that it would take about 2 hours and 17 minutes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Judge, I'd like to enter that as an exhibit, please.
Marking as Exhibit 1.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Wells, prior to, how often would you say that the minor child gets to see grandma?
How often?
Yes.
Well, I can say that before the divorce, we were living in Cheatham County. And we would make the 6.5 hour drive to see family on my side and Shelley's side, because they live fairly close to each other. So it's a 6.5 drive to see. We would go on the major holidays, not every major holiday, but like we would hit like Memorial Day, Labor Day. We would do a couple of times during the summer to go family reunions with Shelley's family, Christmas, Thanksgiving. We would go 5 or 6 times a year. In fact, in 2015, we bought a house in Kentucky for the express purpose of, because we're making a 6.5 hour drive one way, we're coming in to see family. We wanted to have a place to stay where we could stay for like another night, 2 nights during that time. So we wouldn't have to like leave in the early morning or like around lunchtime to make that long drive back here.
Mr. Wells, how old is your mother?
She's 79.
And how is her health?
She's doing relatively great considering her age. Yes, she does have mild dementia, but she does all of the basic activities that people need to do. Like she grooms herself, bathes herself, dresses herself. She walks unassisted. In fact, she did this past June when she was with me. She walked 1.5 miles around the trails around our house, up and down tiny little hills. She did that without stopping.
Mr. Wells, would you say that it's important for you that the minor child get to see grandma?
I think it would be very important to see, because I have witnessed them having very positive, loving interactions with each other, getting prepped, ready to go out to go see theater shows and to concerts, dancing at concerts in the aisles together, having those times.
And I just want to clarify, I believe you already testified to this, but I just want to clarify that it's not your intention to take the minor child out of her extracurricular activities and everything she's going to get to do, and all of the, if she had friends she wanted to see or anything like that on her weekend parenting time. That's not your intention. Your intention
No.
is that 1 or 2 times maybe you could go see your mother and sister in North Carolina.
Yeah, when my mother is staying with my sister in North Carolina, I have another sister that she stays with, but that's in Kentucky, and that would be a 4.5 hour drive, and I wouldn't think that would be feasible.
And how many grandchildren does your mother have, Mr. Wells?
How many grandchildren? Well, let me count. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 grandchildren.
Okay. And moving on to additional parenting time, Mr. Wells, in your opinion, how was your parenting time with the minor child in Utah this summer?
We had a great time. We flew out there. We went to first day we went to the Natural History Museum of Utah, so she got to see like some life-size dinosaur exhibits. After that, she wanted to go see the Utah State Capitol. We went in, saw the Capitol, saw where they were hosting looks like they were going to host a wedding event inside all the marble of the Utah Capitol. I had offered her an opportunity to go see the salt flats out in the western part of the state, and I said, it's a 2 hour drive to go out there. Do you want to see that? We did go out to see that. Ella drove out on my truck out on the salt flats. She took it out 65 miles an hour, got all that salt underneath my truck, had to go through a automatic car wash about 4 times to get the salt off. But she was out there driving out on the salt flats and like having a great time and just enjoying what, the differences that life is out there compared to what she normally sees.
But you did, and you said that drive, Utah to the Salt Flats, it was a 2+ hour
That's a
drive?
2+ hour drive out into the West Desert.
Thank you. So, Mr. Wells, you've sent me some proposals to make up your parenting time. And just to confirm, you have lost about 19 days with the minor child, correct?
That is correct.
And that was between the ex parte TRO and between the change in the summer parenting schedule, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And can you just explain to the court what this is?
This is a spreadsheet that illustrates, the amount of time that has been lost so far. My first preference, which is least disruptive to Ella because of, what she has going on with her extracurriculars and such, is to just go ahead and take days from on fall break of 2025 and spring break of 2026, days that she's already out of school, not going to be on extracurricular activities, and be able to take those 9 days there, 9 days there, and pretty much have, to make up the time that has been lost. I do have fall break with Ella this year, and she's indicated to her college counselor that, well, we have plans. We have plans to go visit Yale and visit some colleges in the Northeast because Ella is a junior and she needs to go and tour colleges and kind of see make sure that they know that she's interested in them and be able to see these colleges firsthand. And so I think it would be a good idea during our breaks to go and visit colleges where she would like to be and visit them, because she's not going to have time during her normal school year during the monthly time to be able to go and do that anyway.
Mr. Wells, can you tell me, in your opinion, how important is it for you to be able to spend time with Ella?
I think it's of paramount importance for me to be able to spend time with Ella.
You love your daughter, right?
I love my daughter. We have great times together. She's a lot like me. She's got some differences though. She's got, important differences. She's a lot like her mom too. So she's got a little bit of both of us. And, we go out and, the things that she likes to do, like going out to see museums, going to see cultural activities. We went and saw a theater show in Utah when we were doing those 4 days. She loved going to the theater and watching. She was impressed with how they did things. She thought that it would be like a low-key production, but oh no, they do things quite well there in Utah. So they had a great show, and she loved the lights and everything and how they put on the production. So I think being able to have time with her, and I like to travel and go out and see places, and I think she likes the busyness of like being out in society and being out in airports and being out in like just the marketplace of people. And so I want to take her out and let her be out in public, let her be out in going and doing things wherever, that she wants to go and wherever, she needs to be.
And Mr. Wells, I know it's been said in this court before that you and the minor child, there's a little tension there between your relationship, and there are things that she's testified to prior that I know you may not agree with, but she's testified to it. This court has heard it.
Yeah.
What are you doing to mend that relationship and work towards building that and growing that?
Well, we see a father-daughter counselor. We talked to one. We've been seeing her for a little over a year and a half now, and we talk about, things in the past of like, hey, this was like sort of like your origin story. This is like what was going on when you were a child, and like, how we, your mom and I solved this problem together, and like how we've, these were, you have these grievances with me, but like, well, what was the reason for this? Why did you think that I didn't want you to do, like, for instance, ballet dancing in Kentucky? I'm like, well, no, actually, I emailed your counselor to say, hey, we have to do some things here in Nashville, but I know that she has to prepare for this production. What can I do to make sure that Ella is able to participate in the production to the highest level? Whatever you say we need to do, I'll make sure that she's able to get there and do that. And so I'm trying to like show her that like I've been doing things behind the scenes. I've not been going out and being direct and telling you exactly everything I'm doing, but like I'm working behind the scenes to make things better for you, to try to improve your opportunities in life. I'm working behind the scenes to do that. And now I'm going to show you exactly with proof. This is what I've been doing the whole time.
And do you feel if getting these days back would be helpful to continuing to build that relationship with her?
I think so, because we would be able to go and having that time with me is really, really important. I've lost a lot of time with the 19 days here, but like gosh, since like 2018 up until the time of the divorce, I did not have any alone time with my daughter. I would drive 6.5 hours to see them, and I would get 30 minutes in a McDonald's. And during that 30 minutes in the McDonald's, the conversation wasn't like between Ella and I. The conversation was divorce logistics in front of our 11-year-old daughter. And I thought that was highly inappropriate. And after the 30 minutes, they left. And so there was for Shelley could answer as to probably why, she did not want Ella to be alone with anybody out of her sight since she was like 5 or 6 years old. And so
Now, Mr. Wells, the other thing is I do know your work schedule, it's not as flexible as some other people's work schedules. You're an anesthesiologist, correct?
correct.
Would you be able or be open to, if this was something the court would allow or consider, maybe adding a day on during one of your weekly parenting months to add those days? Would that be something you would be able to work with and consider?
Yeah, I could potentially work with that, but it was going to be hard in the short term because I've already set the time off for fall time and up and through to like early part of the winter. It'd be much, much, much easier to be able to get the time off during the breaks that we've already listed here. It'd be easier to set those dates in vacation because we do our schedule 9 months in advance.
Great, thank you. Judge, I'd also like to add that as Exhibit 2, please.
What is Exhibit 2?
That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Briggs, you may cross-examine.
Wells, where is Ella at currently?
Ella right now is in Johnson City with my sister and my mother.
You've had her since when?
I picked Ella up at 7 p.m. Yesterday at her high school.
Why did you choose not to bring her with you, sir?
Because, well, number one is that on the schedule, Ella was to have tennis camp this week. And tennis camp is at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in Johnson City. And knowing I had to be here at the hearing, and it was not going to be feasible for us to be able to get back and make sure that she attends that camp later today. And so I had my sister come and make the 2-hour drive to be able to take her to that tennis camp later today. I did learn from my daughter yesterday that she did not want to go to the camp. I did not see that camp was scheduled or that was canceled on our calendar. I heard no communication from Shelley that that was canceled at the time of the pickup. And so Ella had her tennis racket and had her tennis shoes, and I only assumed that that's still going to be the plan. That's why she's not here.
You didn't think it'd be beneficial for the court to hear Ella's testimony as to whether or not?
Well,
she wanted
actually,
addition- You'd let me finish my sentence, sir.
yes, sir.
Question.
Yeah.
You didn't think it would be beneficial for the court to hear Ella's testimony, whether or not she wanted additional parenting time with you or to travel out of state?
I believe the court has heard from her not only during the previous hearings, but both behind the chambers, actually out here or in Dixon County, like out in court there. She also has filed several affidavits. She has communicated with the court.
Where does your mother live, sir?
My mother stays with, she has 3 children. I have 2 sisters. And so she is rotating in the houses with all of our, my sister and my other sister and I, because we are putting her house up for sale where her house is in Kentucky.
Okay, and how often does she stay with each of your siblings and yourself?
It's not entirely, it's not like completely like 4 months with each of us, but it kind of breaks out to about 4 to 5 months broken up at a time with each of us.
So she'll spend 5 months, 4 to 5 months with you, then go on to your sibling, 4 to 5 months, and then the next sibling?
It's not exactly 4 to 5 months with one sister that's in Kentucky, where she gets, some of her medical care. She'll spend a little bit more time there, but it breaks down to being about, numerous weeks.
Okay, and you're gonna get some parenting time, obviously, with Ella when you're able to take her back to Utah, correct?
I anticipate having an exercising parenting time with Ella, during next summer in
And
Utah.
Your mother's gonna be spending 4 to 5 months out of the year with you, correct?
She will probably may not spend that amount of time. It may be 3 to 4 months. It's not going to be, we're still trying to get things exactly lined up because a lot of it is due to where her appointments are in Kentucky. It's going to be harder for me to fly her out from Utah to Kentucky, back to Utah. It doesn't make sense for her to be able to do that kind of travel.
Where's your mother at currently?
My mother is currently in Johnson City right now, with my sister and my daughter.
Okay, so Ella's getting to see your mother currently.
She is seeing her right now.
Whose house is she currently staying at?
They are in Johnson City. I do have a hotel room that I booked for the week because it was during my parenting time. And so they are at that hotel right now.
But is your mother currently living with your sister in North Carolina or Kentucky?
She had been staying this past month because last month I had her from from Memorial Day up until the end of June. And so this month of July, she has spent with my sister in North Carolina. And actually, tomorrow is when my sister in North Carolina they're going to exchange, and my Kentucky sister is going to be picking her up over in Sevierville.
Okay, and you
tomorrow.
previously stated when your attorney questioned you that you had purchased a house previously in Kentucky because you spent so much time traveling to see family there, correct?
We purchased that house in 2015 for the express purpose of having a place to stay that's not going to be, because we had cousins are getting bigger and there's only so much limited space in my mom and dad's house that it was uncomfortable to have that many people there. And also because of the length of travel time, we wanted to have a place where we can just spend more time with family, stay later in the day, and then sleep overnight at our house, and then get up and leave and come back here to Tennessee the next day.
Were you working in the state of Kentucky at that time?
In 2015, I was not working in the state of Kentucky.
When did you work in the state of Kentucky, sir?
I worked in the state of Kentucky during the summer of 2017,
Did you
partly.
purchase that house in anticipation of working in the state of Kentucky?
I did not purchase that house in anticipation of working in the state of Kentucky. The opportunity to work in the state of Kentucky only came 2 years later during 2017.
Have you previously left Ella alone to care for your mother?
The answer is no. She has never been left alone to care for my mother.
Has she ever been left with your mother when you weren't at the house?
There was one instance in June 22nd of 2022. That was a week of my parenting time. It was actually during that week. That was the 1 week during that summer that I had to work during my parenting time. And so what I had arranged was Ella was 14. I had a babysitter that would come at 8 a.m. and pick Ella up and take Ella to appointments, take Ella to whatever camp she was going to, if it was at like a dance camp over in Franklin, or if it was a camp over at Battleground Academy, made sure that she got to appointment. This babysitter made sure she got to the camp and brought her back at 4 or 5 p.m. On that day only was the one day during that week that I could potentially have to go back in during the night. And so that night I got called in at about 8 p.m. and Ella was already in her room. She was already passed out of sleep from like going to getting up early and having to get up and go early to go to camps. And so I went back to the hospital, told my mom that, I'm going back in. I'll let you know when I start to come back. And I got back at about 11:30 at night that night. And that was the only time that Ella was left alone with my mom.
You've heard Ella's testimony when we were previously before this court in Dixon County, correct?
Yes.
You think that she wants to spend this time going to North Carolina with you to see your mother?
Based off the way that they have my interactions with them, that the court has already seen on videos and in photos and in Ella's own testimony, I feel like that they have a great time and that I feel like Ella would like to see her grandmother on those occasions.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Redirect.
No redirect, Judge. Judge, I'd actually like to call Miss Wells to the stand unless Mr. Frakes is intending to call her, then I can wait. But if he's not intending to call her, then I'd like to call her to the stand.
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, you put on whatever proof you want to put on in your case, and I'll hear from her if she wishes to testify. You
Then I
can-
would call Miss Wells to the stand, please.
All right, Ms. Wells, will come around, please.
Can you say your name for the record, please?
Shelley Ann Wells Howard?
And are you the mother of the minor child, Ella Wells?
Yes.
And do you have a parenting plan with Mr. Wells? Miss Wells, you travel outside of the state of Tennessee with Ella, correct?
Yes.
You actually just recently took her to Kentucky this month, correct?
Yes.
And that was to see your family?
We did see my family.
And was there any other reason you went?
Actually do have 2 homes here that I'll check on whether Ella's with me.
Do you usually take Ella with you for those?
No.
And how far is that trip from your house?
Here's where the legal tension spikes. The mother objects to the father traveling out of state, arguing it disrupts school and stability, yet moments later, she admits she's taken the child on similar multi-hour trips herself. Legally, that's a credibility problem. Courts look hard at consistency because custody rulings hinge on best interest of the child, not convenience. When one parent restricts travel for the other but allows it personally, judges start asking, is this about protection or control? That distinction matters more than people realize.
It's under 3 hours. It's about 2 hours and 40 minutes.
So close to 3 hours, but a little under. Okay. Do you encourage Ella to spend time with her father?
I encourage Ella to spend time with anyone who is healthy for her.
But that wasn't the question, Miss Wells. The question was, do you encourage her to spend time with her father?
Yes, I absolutely uphold the parenting plan.
I still think you're not answering the question. The
Yes.
question is encouraging her to spend time with her father.
Yes.
And so when Ella, if she ever tells you she doesn't want to spend time with her father, how do you usually respond to that?
Lately, I've answered her in a very factual way where I tell her that Judge Wolf explained certain days you have to go see your dad, whether you want to or not. And we go, and we're there on time.
But you don't think, you don't believe it's important for Mr. Wells to get additional parenting time with Ella since he's lost parenting time?
I think he lost those privileges for a reason.
And what do you think those reasons are?
When Ella spoke in chambers, there were some facts that got left out and whitewashed. Yes, she didn't like the amount of time and distance and travel. But she also said words that her dad was cruel to her.
You weren't there for that testimony, were
I
you?
read the transcript.
But you weren't there for that
I was
testimony.
not. No.
Okay. And you don't believe that it's important for the minor child to spend time with father's family, do you?
I do think that's important. I've never blocked that.
But we're here because you're objecting to him having time with his family. Yes or
I'm
no?
being an advocate for Ella, and because I've seen what extensive travel in a long distance parenting plan has done to her, I do not think it's in her best interest to go on a 2-hour trip one way and a 2-hour trip back and try to pivot for school and not get homework done
But
on the road.
but
Because
it,
that's what I see as a mother.
but it is in her best interest when you want to take her places that are long distance travel, yes or no?
No, absolutely not. There are some trips I would absolutely love to take her on, and we don't. We prioritize homework and we prioritize extracurriculars. So I would disagree with that. I don't take her at my whim.
But isn't it true that you canceled the ACT test for the 3rd time because you wanted to take Ella to Kentucky?
No, that is not the absolute reason. Actually, I did a misstep and I got a probably 2nd or 3rd degree sprain on my ankle. So rather than drive to Decatur County, Tennessee, which was almost 4 hours and back, to a place I don't know, high school I don't know. I choose to go on an abbreviated trip to my family where she stayed overnight with her godmother. And I promptly got there and propped my foot up and iced it. And we did see family, but that was not the only reason that that got rescheduled. Mr. Wells, the first time that we were scheduled to take the ACT, decided he was going to go to Utah on the 8th. And that was overlapping her test. So I had to reschedule it. I rescheduled it for my foot and the reunion, yes.
But it's not true that that was overlapping, was it? His time in Utah and the ACT.
It was absolutely, it was for the 8th. So I did have to reschedule that.
But the ACT was in the morning, the flight was in the evening.
Yeah, it was a 5 to 6 hour window is what they have on their website. So she began at 8 o'clock. She wouldn't have gotten done for 5 or 6 hours later. He wanted to get her, I believe, at around 2 o'clock, something like that.
Is that how the ACTs work nowadays? They're 5 hours long?
Yes, hers was online. It's only at certain schools. That was another factor. It's not mandatory. I would have liked her to have the opportunity, but because people aren't flexible in this parenting plan, Ella's getting shortchanged here. And I think the focus doesn't necessarily need to be on quantity of days that people are getting here. It's how is this benefiting Ella?
But Ella's only getting shortchanged in your mind when she's with father, not when she's with you.
I don't think that at all. I think that I had to reschedule her test for my foot was a shortchange.
But yeah, you still drove 3+ hours now.
I did one way and I rested and I came back home the next day.
No other questions, Judge. Thank you. Judge, I think you've heard before this court, Mr. Wells he's lost time with his daughter. He's doing everything he can to work through this relationship, fix this tension that has been addressed and shown to this court, whether it's true or not. Ms. Wells is saying that she encourages parenting time with Mr. Wells, but yet she evaded that question during her testimony. And yet every time Mr. Wells asked for any additional time, anytime, we end up right back here because she objects to it. He gets 74.5 days. He's lost 19 of those. I do not believe that it is unreasonable to try and find ways for him to be granted additional time to spend with Ella. We're not asking that we bring her to Utah and she's traveling the world all of this time. We're asking that there is additional dates here or there, or that he get an extra week for a fall break or spring break parenting time. But it's not unreasonable that we're here asking for him to get additional time with his daughter. I also do not think that it's unreasonable that we are asking that he be allowed to bring her to see her family, his family. Again, 74.5 days, 19 of those are gone. Every time we come here, something more gets limited for my client. Ms. Wells does whatever she pleases with the minor child whenever she wants, with no consequences. There are no consequences. She sits here and she says that everything she does is in the best interest of the child. But why would the best interest of the child not be to spend time with her father and have a relationship with him, Judge? So we ask that he be granted some additional time. We ask that he be allowed to drive to North Carolina so that the minor child can see her grandmother and her aunt. Thank you, Judge.
Breaks.
Your Honor, since I've been involved in this case, I would suggest that the best evidence this court has been presented as to the reasons for the suspension or limitations placed upon the father's parenting time is the minor child's testimony. Minor child took the stand, testified before this court, stated that she did not want to go to Utah, and asked the court to please limit it to less than 1 week to the best of my recollection. The issue here is not necessarily only the fact that the minor child doesn't want to be removed from her community because she's a 16-year-old rising junior in high school. It's also the fact that she does not have a good relationship with the father at all, and that's putting it politely, Your Honor. Obviously, the relationship between the mother and the child, there's no issues there. Father had parenting time scheduled for Father's Day. He didn't take that parenting time, Your Honor. He exercised it when it's convenient for himself. The father's asking to take the child on indefinite dates to North Carolina when this court has already restrained him from taking the child outside of the state of Tennessee during those weekends, 1 monthly weekend and 2 weeks during the summer. Father's asking for additional parenting time at this point to make up a parenting time he's lost based on the allegations contained in the petition up to this point. The thing the parties need to do in this case, Your Honor, if the father wants to make up his parenting time, is set it for trial. Prepare it for trial, have a trial, and end this litigation. I obviously, if the court allows me to withdraw, will not be present and participating in that trial, but the parties need to get this matter ready for trial. They haven't mediated as of yet. They need to do that if the court's going to require it. I don't believe it will be waived, and then they need to set it for trial and resolve this matter.
Well, let me deal first with the motion regarding allowing Mr. Wells.
This is a classic judicial balancing act. The judge acknowledges the teen's intelligence and stated wishes which courts must consider more as children age, but he refuses to let those wishes completely erase a parent's role. That's why he allows limited, non-consecutive trips to see the grandmother. Translation: the court is saying, I hear the child, but I won't sever family bonds. This reflects a broader principle in family law judges' plan not just for now, but for the regret adults carry later.
To take the child. It is difficult in a case where you've got a 16-year-old young lady who's very intelligent, as this Ella is, and has expressed strong statements to the court. And albeit hearing Mr. Wells testify, there's a little different attitude that she demonstrates when she's with him and away from the court and away from her mother. But that's not unusual in these type of cases either. So the court has a duty and obligation to try to balance the best interests of the child along with the best interests, or not, rather the rights of the respective parents. And in this case, Mr. Wells's right of visitation is limited, and largely limited at this point because of his profession that required him to move to the state of Utah, and it puts a lot of distance between them. And you can't expect a child to, especially a 16-year-old, soon to be 17-year-old, who will want to be taken out of their social milieu or whatever the environment that they're in, and be gone for many weeks at a time over the summer to a state that's, hours and hours away. So in trying to balance all of that, I came up with that plan for the summer. And the issue before me right now on this motion is whether or not to allow Mr. Wells to take this child to visit his mother in North Carolina. And I know there's been some testimony that she stays with him a lot and so forth. But it is not unreasonable to allow him to take this child to North Carolina. But it's going to be, he's indicated he just wants to take a couple of times a year to take the child. So we're going to give him 2 times a year. And when he's got his weekend visitation, or sometime during his summer visitation, even if it can be arranged, he'll have the opportunity to take this child to North Carolina for two different occasions. They will be non-consecutive. So he will take them 1 month and then again the next month. And, but I think it's important for her. And as was pointed out, she travels with her mother. There's no reason she can't travel with her father to see her grandmother. Part of that is this court's consideration of the fact that at some point, I would like to think this child will reach a level of maturity where she will regret the things that have happened in her life that have separated her from her family. Both sides of this equation are her family. And heritage, when you get to be older like me, your heritage and your family history is, in my opinion, something that's important. And young people don't always appreciate that. So I'm going to let her have an opportunity to have a contact with this grandmother, whether she actually wants to or not. And she'll visit with the grandmother and with the father there 2 times a year during his visitations. Regarding making up the time, I've already modified his visitation where it required him to exercise those weekend visits in the state of Tennessee. And I knew when I did that would likely cause problems from him being able to do it regularly. But that's the best I can do. And I did it because she said, I don't want to go to Utah every month and fly out there and be sitting in a room by myself. So the best I could do in that scenario was to let him visit the same schedule, but do it in Johnson City area that she's, so it necessarily creates problems and barriers for him to exercise his visitation. Mr. Frakes is right about one thing. We need to set this case for a final hearing. I'm going to allow him to withdraw. I do not force people and attorneys in civil cases to continue on simply because of the fact that the case is pending and has been pending for some time. So Ms. Wells is going to need an opportunity to hire an attorney to represent her at the final hearing, but we do need to get it set for a final hearing. There's no reason we should continue to have to come back over and over and over again. I am the problem lies in making up the visitation is that this all started because of Mr. Wells's move to the state of Utah. And it also occurred because his daughter and he were estranged to the point where his daughter was saying she didn't want to go. So that led to the ex parte. But he has lost time with the child. Under these considerations, my understanding is that he's really not able to schedule any additional time with his this year because of the fall schedule already being set. So I am for this hearing only stating that he will be awarded the mother's fall break time that for 2025. If she was to get it under the original plan, then he'll get that time as a partial reimbursement to him of the time. Visitation with a child is not like a monetary thing where I can just simply say, well, we're going to give you this many days and that's going to make up for it. It doesn't help that, it doesn't help you with getting more time might be good for you, but it doesn't help the problem that you got with your daughter when she doesn't want to go at all. So to my mind, giving you the spring, I believe it is on your first choice, the mother's fall break for 2025, that would be what's coming up next fall. So we'll see whether or not that will carry over into the final hearing, but I'm going to at least preliminarily say that's where I would expect him to make up that time. So regarding that, everything else is going to be reserved for the final hearing on all of these issues, and any other modifications or whatever will have to be dealt with at that time. Just keep in mind, in a year and a half, 2 years, roughly 2 years, her birthday's in May. In May of 2026, she can tell y'all both, I'm sick of this argument between y'all. I don't want to see either one of you again. I'm going to move to New York and become a model or whatever she wants to do. She can tell you both that I'm disappointed in how things have been, and I don't want to see either one of you. So you both better be thinking about the fact that at that point, you're going to have to, and it's probably more important for Mr. Wells, and I've tried to point that out before. You can force her to come. I can order that she has to go. But again, unless you and she somehow, and I don't doubt for a minute that when you're away from the conflict and away and it's just the two of you, that things are better. But I would encourage you to work on that relationship so that when she turns 18 and has the legal authority to just simply say, I'm not going anymore, that she will instead want to have a relationship with you and with you both for the rest of her life, because there's a long time for the two of you to have to deal with her in this situation. So that's the only order I'm putting down here today, is I am modifying that to allow him to take 2 times a year to North Carolina for the weekend, and giving him that 1 week of additional time, and then we'll reserve everything else for the final hearing. Mr. Frakes was allowed to withdraw from the case, and if you'll submit an order, she'll have 30 days to retain other counsel. And after she's retained other counsel, I would like for Ms. Rosen, if you can contact her new attorney and see what is left to get this case ready for trial. I think it'll behoove everyone in the case, it's me as well, we can get it ready for trial and get it over with. All right, thank you.
This custody case between Mr. and Ms. Wells underscores the emotional complexity and legal balancing act involved when a child approaches their teenage years, particularly when long-distance parenting is involved. At the heart of the dispute is 16-year-old Ella Wells, who has expressed a desire to limit travel and maintain stability in her schooling and daily life, while her father, who resides in Utah due to his profession, seeks additional parenting time to maintain and strengthen his relationship with her. The tension escalates as Ms. Wells objects to Mr. Wells taking Ella on out-of-state trips, citing disruption to her routine, yet admits she has done similar multi-hour trips herself, creating a credibility issue that courts weigh heavily, as consistency often signals whether objections are truly about the child's best interest or about control. During testimony, both parents presented arguments highlighting their perspectives on Ella's well-being. The father argued that additional visitation, including trips to see her grandmother, would serve her emotional and family connections, while the mother emphasized the potential stress and school interference, prioritizing academic stability. The judge carefully balanced these considerations, acknowledging Ella's intelligence and her stated wishes but emphasizing the long-term importance of preserving family bonds, ultimately granting Mr. Wells limited relief by allowing 2 non-consecutive out-of-state visits per year and additional time during the mother's fall break as partial makeup for lost parenting time. The court reserved other modifications for a final hearing, reflecting that custody disputes often cannot be fully resolved in a single order. Importantly, the judge highlighted a broader principle: by age 18, Ella will have the legal authority to make her own decisions, and the future of her relationship with both parents will depend on trust, consistency, and emotional connection rather than court orders.